There I was, standing in line at the grocery store, minding my own business. The cashier, a young man with a scowl etched on his face, was having a rough day. As I placed my items on the conveyor belt, he muttered under his breath, loud enough for me to hear, "Great, another customer who cannot bag their own groceries." The words stung, but I bit my tongue. I smiled, paid for my items, and walked out of the store with my head held high. Now, you might be wondering why I did not give that young man a piece of my mind. Why did not I demand to speak to his manager? Why did not I match his disrespect with my own sharp words? Friends, that moment in the grocery store taught me a valuable lesson. One that I'm here to share with you today: the power of staying quiet after disrespect. In our world, disrespect seems to be as common as the air we breathe. It's in our schools, our workplaces, on our streets, and even in our homes. We're bombarded with rudeness, insults, and put-downs from all directions. And our natural instinct is to fight back, to defend ourselves, to prove that we're right and they are wrong. But what if I told you that the strongest response to disrespect is not a clever comeback or a heated argument? What if I told you that your silence could be more powerful than any words you could utter? I'm not suggesting you should let people walk all over you. No, what I'm proposing is a different kind of strength, the kind that comes from within, the kind that does not need external validation. Think about it. When someone disrespects you, they are expecting a reaction. They're looking for you to get angry, to lash out, to sink to their level. But when you choose to stay quiet, when you refuse to engage in their negativity, you are doing something they never expected. You taking control of the situation. Respect is not something you can demand from others. It's something you earn by the way you carry yourself, by the way you treat others, and yes, by the way you respond to disrespect. Let me tell you about a friend of mine. We'll call him Tom. Tom was a brilliant engineer, always coming up with innovative ideas. But in meetings, his boss would constantly belittle him, cutting him off mid-sentence and dismissing his suggestions without a second thought. Now, Tom could have fought back. He could have argued with his boss, complained to HR, or even quit his job. But instead, he chose a different path. Every time his boss disrespected him, Tom would simply nod, make a note, and continue with his work. His colleagues thought he was weak. They urged him to stand up for himself. But Tom knew something they did not. He understood the power of staying quiet after disrespect. Months went by and a funny thing started to happen. Tom's ideas, the ones his boss had dismissed so quickly, began to prove their worth. Projects that followed Tom's suggestions succeeded, while those that ignored them struggled. And all the while, Tom remained calm, professional, and focused on his work. One day, in a big meeting with the company's top executives, Tom's boss tried to take credit for one of Tom's ideas. But before he could finish, one of the executives interrupted. "Is not this the same idea Tom suggested 3 months ago?" she asked. "The one you said wouldn't work?" In that moment, Tom's silence spoke volumes. His boss stammered and stumbled, trying to explain himself. But the damage was done. The executives saw the truth, and Tom's reputation soared while his bosses plummeted. By staying quiet after disrespect, Tom allowed his work to speak for itself. He did not need to defend himself because his actions, his results, did all the talking for him. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but it's not fair. Why should I have to be the bigger person? Why cannot I give them a taste of their own medicine? And you are right, it's not fair. But let me ask you this. When has life ever been fair? When has fighting fire with fire ever truly solved a problem? The truth is, when you respond to disrespect with more disrespect, you are not solving anything. You are just adding more negativity to the world. You are letting someone else's bad behavior dictate your actions. And in the process, you are giving away your power. But when you choose to stay quiet, when you refuse to let their disrespect change who you are or how you act, you are holding on to your power. You are showing true strength. Think about the great leaders throughout history, the ones who truly made a difference. They did not achieve greatness by shouting the loudest or insulting their opponents. They achieved greatness by staying true to their principles, by rising above the pettiness and negativity around them. Take Martin Luther King Jr., for example. In the face of horrific disrespect and violence, he advocated for nonviolent resistance. He understood that responding to hate with more hate would never bring about the change he sought. Instead, he chose to meet disrespect with dignity, hate with love. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. Staying quiet when someone disrespects you goes against every instinct we have. It takes tremendous self-control, inner strength, and confidence. But the rewards, they are immeasurable. When you stay quiet after disrespect, you are not just avoiding a conflict. You are making a powerful statement. You are saying, I refuse to let your negativity control me. I am better than that. And here's the beautiful thing. Over time, this attitude becomes a part of who you are. It's not just something you do. It becomes something you embody. You become the kind of person who does not need to prove anything to anyone because you are secure in who you are. But let's be clear. Staying quiet does not mean being passive. It does not mean letting injustice slide or allowing yourself to be a victim. No, staying quiet is an active choice. It's a strategic decision to pick your battles. Remember, not every slight deserves a response. Not every insult is worth your time and energy. By choosing to stay quiet, you are reserving your energy for the things that truly matter. And here's another secret. When you master the art of staying quiet after disrespect, you gain a superpower. You become unshakable. The small minds who try to bring you down with their words suddenly lose all their power over you. Imagine walking into a room, knowing that no matter what anyone says or does, they cannot touch your inner peace. Imagine going through life with the confidence that comes from knowing you are in control of your reactions, your emotions, your very being. That is true freedom. That's the power of staying quiet after disrespect. Now, I can almost hear some of you thinking, but what about my self-respect? Does not staying quiet mean I'm letting people walk all over me? Let me be clear. There's a world of difference between staying quiet and being a pushover. Staying quiet does not mean you don't stand up for yourself. It means you choose your moments carefully. It means you respond with actions rather than words. Think of it like this. In martial arts, the true masters don't go around picking fights to prove how tough they are. They know their worth. They are confident in their abilities. They don't need to prove anything to anyone. The same principle applies here. When you stay quiet after disrespect, you are not showing weakness. You are showing incredible strength. You are showing that you are above petty insults and childish behavior. You are showing that you are the master of your own emotions. Let me share another story with you. This one's about Sarah, a young woman who worked in customer service. Every day she dealt with angry customers, people who would yell at her, insult her, and blame her for things that weren't her fault. At first, Sarah would get upset. She'd argue back, try to defend herself. But it never seemed to help. The customers just got angrier, and Sarah would go home feeling drained and defeated. Then one day, Sarah decided to try something different. The next time, a customer started yelling at her. Instead of arguing back, she just listened. She let them vent their frustrations without interrupting. And when they were done, she calmly asked, "How can I help solve this problem for you?" The result was astonishing. The customer, who had been red-faced with anger just moments before, suddenly deflated. They weren't expecting kindness in response to their anger. They weren't expecting someone to actually listen to them. From that day on, Sarah made this her standard approach. And you know what happened? Her customer satisfaction ratings skyrocketed. She became known as the go-to person for handling difficult customers, all because she learned the power of staying quiet in the face of disrespect. When you stay quiet after disrespect, you are not just affecting yourself. You are changing the entire dynamic of the interaction. You are breaking the cycle of negativity. And often you're giving the other person a chance to realize their own bad behavior. Think about it. Have you ever lost your temper with someone only to feel ashamed afterward when they responded with kindness? That's the power of staying quiet after disrespect. It holds up a mirror to the other person's behavior often more effectively than any words could. Now, I want to be clear about something. Staying quiet after disrespect does not mean you should tolerate abuse or harassment. There are times when you need to speak up, times when you need to set clear boundaries. But even in those moments, the power of staying calm, of responding with dignity rather than anger, can be transformative. Let's talk about boundaries for a moment, because this is crucial. Staying quiet after disrespect does not mean you don't have boundaries. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Having strong, clear boundaries is what allows you to stay calm in the face of disrespect. When you know who you are, when you are secure in your values and your worth, other people's words lose their power over you. Their disrespect becomes a reflection of their character, not yours. So how do you develop these strong boundaries? It starts with self-respect. It starts with knowing your worth, with understanding that you deserve to be treated with dignity and kindness. This is not about ego. It's not about thinking you are better than everyone else. It's about recognizing your inherent worth as a human being. It's about understanding that no one, no matter who they are or what position they hold, when you have this foundation of self-respect, staying quiet after disrespect becomes easier, because you are not staying quiet out of fear or weakness. You are staying quiet because you know that their words cannot diminish your worth. Let me give you an example. I once knew a man named John who worked in a high-pressure sales environment. His coworkers were constantly trying to one-up each other, often resorting to insults and put-downs to assert their dominance. John, however, never engaged in this behavior. When someone insulted him or tried to put him down, he would simply smile and say, "I appreciate your perspective." And then he'd get back to work. At first, his coworkers thought he was an easy target. They'd increase their insults, thinking they could rattle him. But John remained unshakable. He knew his worth was not determined by their words or opinions. And a funny thing started to happen. As John consistently refused to engage in their negativity, his coworkers began to respect him. They saw that he was confident enough in himself that he did not need to put others down. They saw that he was focused on his work, on improving himself rather than on office politics. Before long, John became one of the top salespeople in the company. And he did it without ever raising his voice, without ever insulting a coworker, without ever compromising his integrity. That's the power of staying quiet after disrespect. It's not just about avoiding conflict. It's about rising above it. It's about showing through your actions the kind of person you truly are. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, that's all well and good. But what about when the disrespect comes from someone in a position of authority? What about when it's your boss or your teacher or your parents? That's a great question, and it brings us to an important point. Staying quiet after disrespect does not mean you have to accept unfair treatment. It does not mean you cannot advocate for yourself or seek help when you need it. What it does mean is that you respond strategically rather than reactively. You choose your moments, you document the behavior, you seek appropriate channels for addressing the issue, but you do it all without lowering yourself to their level. Let me tell you about Maria, a student who faced constant criticism from one of her professors. This professor seemed to take pleasure in belittling students, in making them feel small. Maria could have lashed out. She could have complained to her classmates, spread rumors about the professor, or given up on the class entirely. But instead, she chose a different path. Every time the professor criticized her, Maria would simply nod and say, "Thank you for the feedback. I'll work on improving." And then she would do exactly that. She would take the professor's harsh words and use them as fuel to push herself harder, to improve her work. She also started keeping a journal, documenting each interaction, not with anger or resentment, but as a neutral observer. Today, Professor X said this. Here's what I'm going to do to address it. By the end of the semester, two things had happened. First, Maria's work had improved dramatically. She had turned the professor's negativity into motivation, and it showed in her grades. Second, she had a clear, factual record of the professor's behavior. When the time came for course evaluations, Maria was able to provide thoughtful, specific feedback about how the professor's teaching style could be improved. She did not attack the professor personally. She did not use emotional language. She simply presented the facts and suggested ways things could be better. The result? The department took notice. They realized there was a problem that needed to be addressed. and Maria played a key role in bringing about positive change in her school. By staying quiet in the moment, by refusing to engage in arguments or emotional outbursts, Maria was able to effect real change. She addressed the disrespect she faced, but she did it in a way that was constructive rather than destructive. This is a crucial point. Staying quiet after disrespect is not about being passive or accepting mistreatment. It's about responding in a way that's productive, in a way that aligns with your values and goals. Think about it this way. When someone disrespects you, they are trying to provoke a reaction. They are trying to throw you off balance to make you lose control. But when you stay quiet, when you refuse to react, you are maintaining control. You are choosing how to respond rather than simply reacting. This is a powerful position to be in because now you get to decide what happens next. Do you address the issue directly but calmly? Do you document it for future reference? Do you use it as motivation to prove them wrong? The choice is yours. And here's the beautiful thing. When you respond this way consistently, people start to notice. They see that you cannot be rattled by petty insults or criticism. They see that you are focused on your goals, on improving yourself rather than on winning arguments or proving others wrong. This earns you respect, real respect. Not the kind of fear-based respect that comes from being the loudest or most aggressive person in the room, but the kind of deep respect that comes from recognizing someone who is truly in control of themselves. Staying quiet after disrespect does not mean you have to bottle up your emotions. It does not mean you cannot feel hurt or angry when someone treats you poorly. Those feelings are natural and valid. The key is in how you process those emotions. Instead of immediately lashing out, take a moment, take a deep breath, acknowledge how you're feeling, and then choose how you want to respond. Maybe you need to step away for a few minutes to calm down. Maybe you need to talk to a trusted friend or write in a journal to process your feelings. Maybe you need to hit the gym or go for a run to burn off that angry energy. Do whatever you need to do to process those emotions in a healthy way, but do it privately. Don't give the person who disrespected you the satisfaction of seeing you lose control. This is where real emotional intelligence comes into play. It's about recognizing your emotions, understanding where they come from, but not letting them control your actions. When you master this skill, you become incredibly powerful because now you are not at the mercy of other people's words or actions. You are in control. You get to decide how you feel and how you respond. The long-term benefits of staying quiet after disrespect, because this is not just about handling individual situations. It's about cultivating a mindset that will serve you well throughout your life. When you consistently respond to disrespect with quiet dignity, you are training yourself to be resilient. You are building emotional strength. You are developing the kind of unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you can handle whatever life throws at you. This resilience becomes a cornerstone of your character, shaping how you approach challenges and interact with the world around you. Think about the most successful people you know, the ones who've achieved great things, who've made a real difference in the world. Chances are they did not get there by engaging in every petty argument or responding to every slight. They got there by staying focused on their goals, by rising above the noise and negativity that surrounds us all. That's what staying quiet after disrespect allows you to do. It frees up your mental and emotional energy for the things that really matter. Instead of wasting time and effort on arguments and conflicts, you can channel that energy into personal growth, into pursuing your dreams, into making a positive impact on the world around you. Let me tell you about Robert, a young entrepreneur I once mentored. When Robert first started his business, he was full of passion and ideas. But he was also quick to take offense, quick to argue with anyone who criticized his plans or doubted his abilities. I watched as Robert wasted countless hours, argue with naysayers, defending himself against every negative comment on social media, trying to prove everyone wrong. And you know what? His business suffered for it. He was so busy fighting battles that he was not focusing on what really mattered. Building his product, serving his customers, growing his company. Then one day I sat Robert down and shared with him The power of staying quiet after disrespect. I challenged him to try it for just 1 month, to resist the urge to argue or defend himself, and instead channel that energy into his business. The transformation was remarkable. Without the constant distractions of petty conflicts, Robert was able to focus like never before. His productivity soared, his stress levels dropped, and interestingly, as he stopped engaging with the negativity, a lot of it simply faded away. By the end of that month, Robert's business had made more progress than in the previous 6 months combined. And Robert himself had changed. He was calmer, more confident, more focused. He had discovered the incredible power that comes from choosing your reactions, from refusing to let others' negativity dictate your actions. This, my friends, is the real secret to success. It's not about never facing disrespect or criticism. It's about how you handle it when it comes your way. It's about maintaining your composure, staying true to your values, and keeping your eyes on your goals. When we talk about staying quiet after disrespect, some people worry that this approach might make them seem weak or passive. They fear that others might see their silence as an invitation for more disrespect. But here's the truth. True strength is not about how loud you can shout or how clever your comebacks are. True strength is about self-control. It's about having the confidence and self-assurance to know that you don't need to prove anything to anyone. Think about the truly strong people you have encountered in your life. The ones who command respect just by walking into a room. Chances are they are not the ones who are constantly arguing or trying to assert their dominance. They are the ones who are calm, composed, and secure in themselves. That's the kind of strength you develop when you master the art of staying quiet after disrespect. It's a quiet strength, but it's far more powerful than any show of force or aggression. Let me share a personal story with you. Early in my career, I worked with a colleague who seemed to have made it his mission to undermine me at every turn. He would criticize my ideas in meetings, spread rumors behind my back, and even take credit for my work. At first, I fell into the trap of trying to defend myself. I would argue with him in meetings, confront him about the rumors, try to prove to everyone that the ideas were mine. But you know what? It did not help. If anything, it made the situation worse. He seemed to thrive on the conflict, and I was left feeling drained and frustrated. Then I remembered the lesson I'm sharing with you today. I decided to try a different approach. The next time he criticized one of my ideas in a meeting, instead of arguing, I simply said, "Thank you for your input. I'll take that into consideration." And then I moved on with the discussion. The look on his face was priceless. He was clearly expecting an argument, and when he did not get one, he did not know how to respond. From that day on, I maintained this approach. When he criticized, I thanked him for his input. When I heard about rumors, I ignored them and let my work speak for itself. When he tried to take credit for my ideas, I calmly presented the facts without accusation or anger. And you know what happened? Over time, his behavior began to change. Without the fuel of conflict, his criticisms became less frequent. As I remained calm and professional, others in the office began to see him as the troublemaker, not me. And most importantly, I was able to focus on my work and advance my career instead of wasting energy on pointless conflicts. This experience taught me a valuable lesson. When you refuse to engage with disrespect, when you maintain your dignity and focus on what truly matters, you not only protect your own peace of mind, you often change the dynamic entirely. Now, I want to be clear about something. Staying quiet after disrespect does not mean you become a pushover. It does not mean you let people walk all over you. There will be times when you need to stand up for yourself, times when you need to address issues directly. The key is in how you do it. Instead of reacting emotionally, in the heat of the moment, you respond thoughtfully and strategically. You choose the right time, the right place, and the right words to address the issue. You do it from a place of calm strength, not angry defensiveness. This approach is far more effective. When you address issues calmly and professionally, people are more likely to listen. They are more likely to take you seriously, and you're more likely to achieve the outcome you want. Let's talk for a moment about the impact this approach can have on your relationships. Because staying quiet after disrespect is not just about how you handle workplace conflicts or encounters with strangers. It can transform your personal relationships as well. Think about the arguments you have had with loved ones. How often have they spiraled out of control because both parties responded to disrespect with more disrespect? How often have hurtful words been exchanged in the heat of the moment? Words that cannot be taken back. Now imagine if the next time a loved one says something hurtful, instead of firing back, you take a deep breath. You stay quiet for a moment. You choose your response carefully. You say something like, "I know you are upset, and I want to understand why. Can we talk about this calmly?" This simple shift in approach can be revolutionary. It can turn potential arguments into productive discussions. It can strengthen your relationships instead of damaging them. It can create an atmosphere of mutual respect and understanding. I once worked with a couple who were on the brink of divorce. They had fallen into a pattern of constant bickering and trading insults. Every conversation seemed to turn into an argument. They were both hurt, both feeling disrespected, and both responding with more disrespect. I challenged them to try the approach we're discussing today, to make a conscious effort to stay quiet after feeling disrespected, to take a moment before responding, to choose their words carefully. It was not easy for them at first. Old habits die hard, and there were plenty of slip-ups along the way. But as they practiced this approach, something remarkable started to happen. The atmosphere in their home began to change. Conversations that once would have turned into shouting matches became opportunities for real communication. They started to really listen to each other, to try to understand each other's perspectives instead of just defending their own positions. And over time, they rediscovered the love and respect that had brought them together in the first place. This is the power of staying quiet after disrespect. It's not just about avoiding conflicts or keeping the peace. It's about creating space for real understanding, for genuine connection. It's about breaking the cycle of negativity and creating the possibility for positive change. Now, I want to address something that often comes up when we talk about this approach. Some people worry that staying quiet after disrespect might be seen as a sign of agreement. They fear that their silence might be interpreted as accepting the disrespectful behavior. This is a valid concern, but it's based on a misunderstanding of what we're talking about here. Staying quiet after disrespect does not mean you agree with the disrespect. It does not mean you accept it or condone it. It simply means you are choosing not to engage with it in that moment. Remember, your silence is not passive. It's an active choice. It's a powerful statement that says, I refuse to let your negativity control my actions. I choose to respond with dignity and self-respect. If you are concerned about being misunderstood, you can always follow up later. When emotions have cooled, you can say something like, I want to address what happened earlier. The way you spoke to me was not okay, and here's why. By approaching it this way, you are more likely to have a productive conversation and less likely to escalate the conflict. Let's talk for a moment about the impact this approach can have on your mental health. In today's world, we're constantly bombarded with negativity. Social media, news headlines, even casual conversations can be full of disrespect and hostility. If we react to every instance of disrespect we encounter, we'll quickly find ourselves exhausted and stressed. But when you master the art of staying quiet after disrespect, you create a buffer between yourself and that negativity. You are no longer at the mercy of every rude comment or thoughtless action. You get to choose what affects you and what does not. This can be incredibly liberating. It can dramatically reduce your stress levels and improve your overall well-being. It allows you to maintain your inner peace regardless of what's happening around you. I once worked with a woman named Lisa who struggled with anxiety. She was constantly worried about what others thought of her, always on edge, ready to defend herself against any perceived slight. As a result, she was stressed, unhappy, and struggling in both her personal and professional life. We worked together on implementing the approach we're discussing today. It was not easy for Lisa at first. Her instinct was always to react, to defend, to explain herself. But as she practiced staying quiet after disrespect, she began to notice a change. She found that a lot of the things she used to interpret as disrespect weren't actually meant that way at all. And even when she did encounter genuine disrespect, she discovered that she had the power to choose how it affected her. Over time, Lisa's anxiety began to decrease. She felt more in control of her emotions, more confident in herself. She started to enjoy her work more, and her relationships improve, all because she learned the power of staying quiet after disrespect. Now, I want to be clear about something. This approach does not mean you should suppress your emotions or never express how you feel. Bottling up your feelings is not healthy and can lead to its own set of problems. The key is in how. And when you express those feelings, instead of reacting immediately with anger or hurt, give yourself time to process your emotions. Maybe you need to take a walk or write in a journal or talk to a trusted friend. Do whatever helps you work through those feelings in a healthy way. Then, when you are calm and clear-headed, you can decide if and how you want to address the situation. Maybe you will choose to have a conversation with the person who disrespected you. Maybe you will decide it's not worth your energy and let it go. The important thing is that you are making a conscious choice, not just reacting on impulse. This approach puts you in control. Instead of letting others' actions dictate your emotions and behavior, you get to decide how you want to respond. This is incredibly empowering. How this approach can benefit you in your professional life. In today's competitive job market, emotional intelligence is more valuable than ever. Employers are looking for people who can handle stress, work well with others, and navigate difficult situations with grace. When you master the art of staying quiet after disrespect, you are developing these exact skills. You are showing that you can keep your cool under pressure, that you can rise above petty conflicts and focus on what really matters. Think about the last time you were in a tense meeting at work. Maybe someone criticized your idea, or took credit for your work, or made a snide comment. How did you react? And how did that reaction impact the rest of the meeting, your relationships with your colleagues, and your own stress levels? Now imagine handling that situation differently. Imagine staying calm and composed, not letting that person's negativity throw you off your game. Imagine being able to continue presenting your ideas clearly and confidently, regardless of any disrespect you encounter. That's the kind of poise that gets noticed. That's the kind of emotional intelligence that can set you apart in your career. I once worked with a young professional named Michael, who was brilliant at his job, but struggled with workplace conflicts. He would get defensive when his ideas were criticized, argue with colleagues over small issues, and often leave meetings feeling frustrated and misunderstood. We worked together on implementing the approach we're discussing today. It was challenging for Michael at first, but he was committed to improving. He started practicing staying quiet after disrespect, taking a moment to breathe before responding to criticism, focusing on the content of what people were saying rather than their tone or delivery. The results were remarkable. Michael's colleagues began to see him differently. They respected his ability to stay calm under pressure, to focus on solutions rather than getting caught up in arguments. His ideas were taken more seriously because he presented them with confidence and responded to feedback with openness rather than defensiveness. Within a year, Michael was promoted to a leadership position. His boss specifically mentioned his improved communication skills and ability to handle difficult situations as key factors in the decision. This is the power of staying quiet after disrespect. It's not just about avoiding conflicts, it's about developing the kind of emotional intelligence and leadership skills that can propel your career forward. Some people worry that staying quiet after disrespect might be seen as weakness, especially in competitive environments. They fear that others might take advantage of their calm approach. But here's the truth. Real strength is not about being the loudest or most aggressive person in the room. Real strength is about being in control of yourself, your emotions, and your reactions. It's about having the confidence to stay true to your values regardless of how others behave. Think about the truly successful leaders you admire. Chances are they are not the ones who are constantly arguing or putting others down. They are the ones who remain calm under pressure, who listen more than they speak, who respond to challenges with thoughtfulness and grace. That's the kind of strength you develop when you master the art of staying quiet after disrespect. It's a quiet strength, but it's far more powerful and influential than any show of aggression or dominance. Let me tell you about a CEO I once worked with. We'll call him David. David was known for his calm demeanor and his ability to handle even the most heated situations with grace. In board meetings, when others would lose their temper or resort to personal attacks, David would remain composed. He would listen carefully, acknowledge everyone's input, and then calmly steer the conversation back to the issues at hand. At first, some people mistook David's calmness for weakness. They thought they could push him around or intimidate him into agreeing with them. But they quickly learned that David's quiet demeanor masked a core of steel. He was not easily swayed by emotional arguments or aggressive tactics. Instead, he made decisions based on careful consideration of the facts and what was best for the company. Over time, David's approach earned him enormous respect. His employees trusted him because they knew he would always remain fair and level-headed, even in difficult situations. His board members valued his input because they knew he was not driven by ego or emotion, but by a genuine desire to do what was best for the company. Under David's leadership, the company thrived, and it was not just because of his business acumen. It was because he created a culture of respect and professionalism where ideas were evaluated on their merits rather than on who shouted the loudest. This is the kind of leadership that the world needs more of. And it all starts with mastering the art of staying quiet after disrespect. How this approach can impact your personal growth and self-development. When you are constantly reacting to disrespect, when you are always on the defensive, you are not leaving much room for self-reflection and growth. But when you learn to stay quiet after disrespect, you create space for something powerful to happen. You get the opportunity to look inward, to examine your own thoughts and reactions, to consider why certain words or actions affected you the way they did. This self-reflection can be incredibly valuable. It can help you identify your own insecurities and areas for growth. It can help you understand your triggers and develop strategies for managing them. It can help you become more self-aware and emotionally intelligent. I once worked with a woman named Sarah who came to me for help with anger management. Sarah felt like she was constantly flying off the handle, getting into arguments with family members, colleagues, even strangers on the street. She was unhappy with her behavior, but felt powerless to change it. We started working on the technique of staying quiet after disrespect. At first, Sarah found it incredibly difficult. Her instinct was always to fight back, to defend herself, to prove she was right. But as she practiced, she began to notice something interesting. In those moments of quiet, when she resisted the urge to react immediately, Sarah started to become aware of what was really going on inside her. She realized that a lot of her angry reactions weren't really about the current situation at all. They were about old hurts, deep-seated insecurities, fears she had never fully acknowledged. This realization was transformative for Sarah. Instead of seeing every instance of disrespect as a personal attack, she began to see these moments as opportunities for growth and self-understanding. She started asking herself questions like, why did that comment bother me so much? Or what can I learn from this situation? As Sarah continued to practice staying quiet after disrespect, she not only improved her relationships with others, but also developed a deeper relationship with herself. She became more self-aware, more confident, and more at peace with who she was. And that, my friends, is the ultimate power of staying quiet after disrespect. It's not just about how you interact with others. It's about how you grow and evolve as a person. It's about developing the kind of inner strength and self-awareness that can transform your life. So I challenge you today. The next time you face disrespect, whether it's a harsh word from a loved one, a criticism from a colleague, or an insult from a stranger, try staying quiet. Take a deep breath. Pause before you react. Choose your response carefully. It will not be easy at first. Our instincts push us to defend ourselves, to fight back. But with practice, you will find that this approach becomes more natural. You will discover a sense of peace and control that you never knew was possible. Remember, true strength is not about dominating others or having the last word. It's about being in control of yourself, your emotions, and your reactions. It's about knowing who you are and standing firm in that knowledge, regardless of how others treat you. By mastering the art of staying quiet after disrespect, You are not just changing how you react to others. You are changing who you are. You are becoming stronger, more resilient, more emotionally intelligent. You are becoming the kind of person who can navigate life's challenges with grace and dignity. So go forth and practice this powerful technique. Stay quiet after disrespect. Watch how it transforms your relationships, your career, and most importantly, yourself. The journey will not always be easy, but I promise you it will be worth it. Thank you for your attention today. Remember, the power to change your life is in your hands. It starts with how you choose to respond to the world around you. Choose wisely, choose consciously, and watch as your world transforms.